Hello beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about self-worth. When you increase your level of self-worth, everything in your life changes. And it's not that things outside of you start to drastically change, although that can happen as well. It's that your internal state shifts so drastically that your life seems unrecognizable. Even if the outside reality is the same, your internal world's shift makes everything seem different. And that's really what I want for you. I want your level of self-worth to raise so high that your internal self is just radiating, and then you're able to draw into you all the experiences and opportunities and the life that you want. How we view ourselves, the worth that we believe we have, will naturally be mirrored to us by other people around us. So if we don't feel worthy, then when we try to interact with other people, they're going to pick up on that and they're going to mirror back to us our feelings of unworthiness. Oftentimes, healing and working with our inner child, or bridging that gap with our inner child, can help us to increase our self-worth, because many times our self-worth is built in our childhood. So whatever programming or beliefs or things you picked up in your childhood will impact your level of self-worth. And so in many cases, simply working with your inner child and connecting to your inner child, healing those wounds and stuff, will naturally help you to elevate and increase your level of self-worth. This is exactly what happened to me as well. Like, just working with my inner child has helped me to increase my levels of self-worth without me having to put in much effort or conscious thought into my level of self-worth. Your self-worth does not come from anybody else. So whatever ideas you have currently about your self-worth coming, or you increasing your self-worth if you have your dream job, or this much amount in your bank account, or this person in your life, or whatever it is, drop it, because that is not where your self-worth comes from. Your self-worth comes from within you. Simply by being here, being alive on this planet, is enough for you to be worthy. And think about it. You were the sperm that won. That in and of itself is enough for worthiness, enough for a high level of worthiness. And I understand throughout our lives, like I said, especially in our childhood, so many things happen that can diminish our self-worth and our feelings of worthiness. And of course, everybody has a certain level of self-worth. It's about raising your level of self-worth. So what do you feel worthy of? That's a question you have to ask yourself. Do you feel worthy of that dream life that you want, that dream vacation, that dream relationship, friendships, whatever? Do you feel worthy of that? And if not, then what is it that you feel worthy of? Do you feel worthy of continuously being in toxic relationships? So ask yourself, what is your current level of self-worth? Where are you currently at in terms of your self-worth? And the best way to answer this is by looking around you in your life and looking at the behaviors and the type of life you are accepting, because that is your current level of self-worth. If you are accepting friendships who don't pour into you equally, or who have a lot of toxic behaviors and traits, or relationships that don't value you, then your self-worth is not very high. Your self-worth is lower, and that's okay. You can always raise that. It's up to you to raise it. But by looking around you at the people in your life, the life that you're living, you can get a pretty good idea of where your level of self-worth is at. So, for example, for myself, a few years ago, my level of self-worth was very low. And the way I knew this is because I didn't set boundaries with people. People could say and do whatever they wanted, and I would just not set a healthy boundary. I wasn't getting what I wanted out of life, so I was just kind of going through the motions, and I didn't really care, and I looked at my life circumstance as something beyond my control. I also was very easily pressured into doing things that I was not okay with. So, if I was to go out with somebody and I wanted to come back home after a certain point because I have, work the next day or whatever, I have school, I have something going on. If that person was like, no, let's go and let's spend some more hours outside, like, let's go hit up these places, let's go do this, I would just kind of go along with it. Like, I'd be like, okay. And when I started to evaluate those behaviors, I found that it was very much linked to my inner child and my childhood, and by healing that, I was able to raise my self-worth, where now it's like, if it's 10 o'clock and I need to be home because I have whatever going on, then I'm gonna say thank you, I would love to hang out, but 10 o'clock, that's my cutoff, I'm going home. Like, that's it. You don't have to over explain yourself. You don't have to say, oh, I have this and this and this, like, can we do it another time? Or no, don't say any of that. You don't need to give an extra explanation. You simply set that boundary with yourself, because if you set it with yourself, it will be 100 times easier to set it with others. At least that's what I found in my experience. Because again, people are simply mirrors to us. And so if you set those boundaries with yourself, if you work on your inner child and you raise your level of self-worth, naturally people are going to see you as worthy. They're going to respect you and your boundaries, and you're going to get what you want out of life. Because that's the whole point of this life anyways, is to get what we want out of it. What is the point in living a life that we don't like and that we're not actually fulfilled with? There's just no point. So you might as well get what you want out of life. Another great thing to ask yourself is, why are you limiting your self-worth? Why are you putting a cap on the amount of self-worth you can have? At your current job, why do you feel like you're not worthy of better? Whatever it is, why do you feel you are not worthy of better? That is a great question to ask yourself. Wherever you are at in life, ask yourself if you're happy with it, and if you're not happy with it, why is it that you do not believe that you can have better? If you do believe that you can have better, then go after better. Get better. Raise your self-worth so that you can attract in your life better. Whatever better looks like for you. I would see better as whatever it is that will actually make you happy and give you a sense of peace within you. So whatever that looks like for you, get it. Go after it. The only thing in your way is you. Your level of self-worth will hugely impact this. So if you don't feel worthy of relationships that value you, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get relationships that don't value you. So whatever level of self-worth you're at is what you're going to get out of life. By raising your self-worth, you're going to get more and more out of life. More and more of the things that you want out of life. So how do you even go about raising your self-worth? Well, one of the things, like I said, is working with your inner child, coming to bridge that gap and healing those wounds and traumas from your past. But there are practical ways that you can implement starting now to help you raise your level of self-worth. Some of those ways are affirmations. I love affirmations. I think affirmations are a great way to reprogram your mind in a way that doesn't require much effort. It's not something that's going to take a whole lot of time. It's not something that is going to require a whole lot of effort on your part. It's not going to require a whole lot of investment, if that makes sense. So it's something that you can start immediately without having to put in a whole lot investment, time wise, energy wise. Like, affirmations are great. And something that I like to do with affirmations is, like, if I'm just doing like a mundane task or while I'm showering or any of that stuff, I just repeat certain affirmations in my head. Sometimes even while I'm like taking a walk, I'll just repeat a few, like maybe I'll have like 4 or 5 affirmations I just keep repeating in my head. And that is really helpful because you're doing a mundane task. You're not really consciously doing it. In this way, it helps to just like reprogram your subconscious to make space for this and to create new pathways for the affirmations that you want, or for the things that you want. One, I do it every morning and every night, right as I wake up and right before bed. These could look like, I am worthy of love, or I am worthy of my dream life, I am worthy of life, I'm worthy of anything I want. Whatever those affirmations look like for you, simply repeating them over and over again while doing a mundane task. I would start off with only using like 3 or 4 because it can sometimes be a lot if you have any more than that, but do whatever feels right for you. I like to do 3 or 4 and I repeat them as I'm walking or while I'm showering, or if I'm doing like cleaning or whatever I'm doing that doesn't require that much like conscious effort. I can just use that time to reprogram my subconscious. I have a few affirmations here for you guys. I am so worthy of being. I am so worthy of living. I am so worthy of thriving. I am so worthy of loving and of being loved. And I am so worthy of everything I want. Those are a few of the affirmations that came to me while I was sitting down and just like asking God, what should I speak? And something else that is coming to me right now is, even if what you don't, or even if what you want doesn't happen, it doesn't mean you are not worthy of it. So for example, let's say you applied to the job of your dreams and you receive a rejection. Rejection is just redirection, by the way, but let's say that happens. That does not mean you are not worthy of that job. It does not affect your level of self-worth at all. It simply means, it could mean anything actually. It could mean that maybe right now is just not the time. Maybe you need another job. Maybe you should reapply, or you should ask, why were you rejected? Maybe there's a different and much better opportunity out there for you, and you're being redirected into that opportunity, and that's why this didn't work out. There's so many reasons why that could happen, but it does not mean that you are not worthy of it. So I really want to make that clear. Just because what you want to happen doesn't happen, it does not mean you are not worthy of it. You are worthy. Your level of self-worth does not come from anything outside of you. So even if you face rejection, your level of self-worth does not diminish. It still remains high and beautiful. Something else I forgot to mention earlier is that when you have a high level of self-worth, naturally, energetically, you do not accept treatment below that. And you don't have to say anything. People naturally start to treat you better, respect you. And there's actually a great example of this in my own life. So as I've done my inner work and connected back to my inner child and done all of that and started to raise my level of self-worth, what I noticed is when I speak to my family, they take me more seriously. In the past, they didn't take me as seriously. And now they listen to what I have to say. When I'm having a conversation with them, they actually pay attention to what I'm saying and they engage in that conversation. They don't just start having another conversation while I'm in the middle of saying something. They don't like completely ignore me and go and start doing something else, you know? That stuff doesn't happen anymore. And I didn't even have to tell them anything. I didn't have to say that, hey, I don't appreciate that, or I didn't have to say anything. It just naturally happened that when I started to raise my level of self-worth through my inner work, they started listening to me. And it was pretty interesting to see that, because another family member brought it up how one of my family members, being much, much older, doesn't get that same level of respect and self-worth. When this person speaks, people don't listen, they make fun of them, they sort of brush them off, and they don't take them seriously. And one of my family members was telling me, like, it's so weird how you being younger and not like having that same life experience are capable of receiving a high amount of respect and people listening to you when you speak, even though, again, you don't have, like, you're not that age, you're not whatever the circumstances are. And I really thought about it, and I was like, yeah, it's because I've done my inner work to raise my level of self-worth. And because of that, people naturally tend to respect and listen to what I'm saying. Now, if they do disrespect me, it doesn't impact me in the way it used to. So if it happens, depending on who it is, I might tell them that, hey, that's not cool, or I just don't care. Like, they do it, I might think about it, I might even journal about it, because maybe it triggers something in me, but I release it afterwards, and it doesn't affect my level of self-worth. I don't start to question myself in the same way that I used to question myself when situations like that would happen. I'm naturally a huge fan of journaling, and one of the ways to help you increase your self-worth would be to journal about it. Journal on a few of the questions I asked earlier: why you don't believe you're worthy for more than what you have right now, why are you putting a limit or a cap on your level of self-worth, and where did this level of self-worth come from? Where did you have this belief come from? So one of those beliefs could be maybe you can only make a certain amount of money a year. Where did that belief come from? And why are you limiting yourself to only that amount? Where did that come from? And why do you believe that you are only worthy of that amount? Another great thing to journal about or to write out is the things that you believe will increase your self-worth. What are these beliefs around self-worth, and what do you believe is going to increase your level of self-worth? Then you can evaluate that and start to break it down, like, okay, where did this come from, and is it actually valid? Again, your self-worth doesn't come from anything outside of you, so is this thing really going to increase your self-worth, or is that just a limiting belief that came from somebody else, your childhood, or an experience you had? And again, bringing it back to the inner child, if you don't feel worthy, during meditation, I would ask you to visualize or bring into your mind your inner child, or just a child in general. And imagine that child is asking you or telling you that I don't feel worthy of this for X, Y, and Z reason. What would you tell that child? What would you tell your inner child if you were approached in that situation? You as an adult, what would you tell that child? And I find that helps a lot, because sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for us to imagine or give ourselves that advice. But as soon as it's a child, somehow it becomes a little bit easier, where it's like you feel different, and so you look at that child differently, and you don't want to hurt that child. You don't want to have that child carry that limiting belief, so you'll say whatever is necessary to make sure that child does not believe that they are not worthy, or that child does not believe that their worth comes from whatever X, Y, and Z thing. So I find it easier sometimes to meditate and to visualize, or just simply to pretend like I'm speaking to my inner child when faced with questions like that. Lastly, something huge that's happened when it came to my self-worth is eye contact. This is not really something I expected to be a part of self-worth or even really thought about. But yeah, eye contact. When you have a lower level of self-worth, it becomes very difficult to maintain eye contact with people, with while you're in conversation, like whatever. And something I noticed for myself that would happen is, like, if I went to a restaurant, while I'm ordering, I had such a difficult time looking at the server in the eye. I would look at the menu, I would look anywhere basically. And it was such a big way in which I've leveled up in my journey was eye contact, like giving people eye contact. And I've noticed that as I've started to give people eye contact and maintain longer and longer amounts of eye contact, people are more likely to listen and more likely to pay attention and just engage in conversation. And it also helps in another way too, where if someone is in a bad mood or in like kind of not doing too well, one, being calm yourself, but two, also just maintaining eye contact with them naturally helps to relieve that anger or frustration or whatever it is that they're feeling. They sort of calm down, and they're like, even if they're fuming in the beginning, they sort of mellow out, and at the end they're just talking like normal. And I found this at my job where I was working at a hotel, that by doing this and maintaining this practice, huge results from it. It was actually very mind-blowing to see. So one of the ways that I've worked to increase my eye contact is obviously my inner work journey, but there's a practical way too. When you're just sitting there, pretend like you're sitting and talking to somebody. And while you're talking to them, pick a point that you want to focus on, and don't like try to stretch the amount of times or the amount of time that you can spend just looking at that point and talking. So it might seem a little weird because you're sitting there talking to yourself, but this really helps because, one, it helps you to bring awareness to your eye contact in general, how often you're breaking it, and how long you can actually go with eye contact. So by pretending that there's somebody in front of you and that point is that person's eyes, it makes it easier to really believe that you're in a conversation with somebody and to see how long you can maintain that eye contact. And by doing this, I was able to like stretch my ability to have eye contact longer and longer. And I'm not saying to just stare at people like that, I'm not saying to do that, but good eye contact shows that you're listening and that you're engaged in the conversation. And that is something that increases your self-worth because, one, you feel worthy of being able to hold longer and longer conversations and being able to engage in that way with people. But also, it's like people will give you more respect because they're like, wow, this person actually cares to remain engaged and listen to what I'm saying. So in other people's eyes, not that it matters, but you start to mirror that high level of self-worth and respect back to you from other people. So yeah, eye contact, huge. Work on it. It really helps to increase your level of self-worth. It's something that I didn't realize affects your self-worth because the two don't seem very related, but I can definitely say it does. It has a huge impact, and as you start to increase your eye contact, your level of self-worth increases and vice versa. So to end this video, I just want to give you 1 or 2 things to work on in order to help increase your self-worth and to believe in yourself, and so that you can live the life of your dreams. One, I want you to practice eye contact with people. And two, I want you to journal about where these self-worth or these beliefs surrounding self-worth have come from, and get to the root of your self-worth, where it came from, your current level of self-worth. Figure out what your current level of self-worth is, and by understanding where your current level of self-worth is and the roots of where your beliefs surrounding self-worth came, you can start to create change in your levels of self-worth and in your life. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am so grateful to have you here, and I really hope that this video helps you. If you have any other things to add to this conversation, please leave it in the comment section below. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!